Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coming Home to Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa, and here we'll dive into everything healing, mindset, confidence, manifestation, and how to become your most empowered self, aka coming home to yourself. In today's episode, we're going to dive into one of the most common forms of self sabotage, which is the fear of being seen and why you are hiding away from your own power. Because let's be real, it's not just about failure. And it's not just failure that you are afraid of, right? You are afraid of what happens if you actually step into your full power, if you actually let yourself be fully expressed, if you actually take up the space without your apologies. And so instead of owning your presence, owning your voice, owning your desires, you shrink yourself. You tell yourself, I'm just waiting for the right moment. Or I need to be more prepared first. I will put myself out there when I feel more confident. It's always that limit that you set yourself to, that until, that when, right? But the truth is, you are just hiding. You're just keeping yourself small because you do not feel safe being fully seen, aka, you do not feel safe within yourself. So today, we're going to break this down, all right? We're going to unpack why this fear exists, how it shows up in your life, and what you need to do to finally step into the power that has always been yours. So, the fear of being seen is not just about visibility, obviously, it's about exposure. It's about the feeling of being vulnerable, of being judged, rejected, or ridiculed, and all of those feelings, right? And this fear, it didn't start today. For most of your life, you have been taught, directly or indirectly, it doesn't really matter, that being fully expressed comes with consequences. So let's take childhood conditioning, for example. As a child, you learned very quickly what was acceptable and what wasn't. And if you were too loud, you were shushed. If you were too confident, you were told to be humble. If you expressed too much emotion, you were told to calm down and not be so dramatic and all the things, right? And so you start filtering yourself after a while. You start dimming parts of you so that you could be loved, so that you could be accepted, or simply avoid discomfort from others. But here's what nobody tells you. This didn't stop in your childhood. This isn't that small thing that once happened but doesn't affect you anymore. That conditioning, you carried it into adulthood. And now, when you enter a room, your mind automatically scans for how you should act to be the most accepted. You don't even realize you're doing it at this point, right? So, think about it like this. Have you ever felt the need to change your personality depending on who you are around? It doesn't matter if it's your friends, if it's at work, if it's just overall in public, right? Have you ever caught yourself toning down your energy or opinions or passion because you didn't want to be too much? Or simply because you kind of assumed that the other person wouldn't match your energy? Have you ever stayed quiet in a group setting, even when you had something to say? Or even in a one-on-one setting because you didn't want to say the wrong thing? That's not just random hesitation or I'm just not gonna start a discussion right now. That is clear conditioning. Your brain learned at an early age that fitting in equals safety. And so, to avoid standing out, to avoid the risk of rejection, you keep yourself in check by doing these behaviors, right? The next example I'm going to give you is about people pleasing and approval seeking. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that being accepted was more important than being authentic. So you started molding yourself to fit to what others expected of you. You said yes when you wanted to say no. It's the typical things. You watered yourself down to be more likable. You held back your opinions so you wouldn't upset anyone, and so on. And now, you don't even know what it feels like to be fully you without the filter of, will they approve this? And let's be honest here as well. How often do you make decisions based on what feels good to you versus what would be the most accepted by others? What would keep the most peace between you and the others? What would be most approved by others? How would they most like me, right? This isn't just about being polite or paying attention to others' feelings. This is about your survival. And when you've spent years attaching your worth to how well you are received by others, it's terrifying to suddenly say, I am enough, even if people don't approve, right? Because to your brain, to your subconscious, this is unknown territory. This is scary. This is outside of your comfort zone, right? But that's the work. That's the shift you need. That's the identity shift we're looking for, because the only person who needs to approve of you is you. Now, the third example I'm going to mention is about shame and past rejection. So maybe you have been burned before. I'm pretty sure you have. Maybe you spoke up once and got shut down. Maybe you tried to show up boldly and it made people uncomfortable. Maybe you just spoke up and they actually did gaslight you and turn it around on you, right? So now your body remembers that rejection. And every time you think about putting yourself out there, your nervous system screams, danger, danger, it's unsafe, it's not secure, right? We cannot do this. It's not just a mental block. It's literally projecting as a physical response at this point. So your body has been trained to associate visibility with risk. Risk of being judged, risk of being misunderstood, risk of being not good enough, right? So you avoid a risk altogether by playing small, by simply staying in your comfort zone, and by choosing safety over expansion. But again, here's the truth. You are not that person anymore. The version of you that got rejected in the past, that version was still learning, still growing, still unprotected, right? The version of you now, she's ready. And the only way to truly step into your power is to stop letting your past dictate what you allow yourself to have in the future. So, how does this fear manifest in your life overall? The fear of being seen is very sneaky, all right? It doesn't always show up as straight up avoidance or overall in obvious ways. You don't wake up one day and consciously decide, oh, I'm going to dim my light today, right? I'm going to self-sabotage today. It happens very subtly in the background of your daily life and in ways that you might not even realize. So sometimes it shows up as hesitations or overthinking or simply convincing yourself that you are just not ready yet. Sometimes it masks itself as logical reasoning, but deep down, it's really just fear. And you come up with the most creative excuses, right? Like excuses that could actually make sense in another context. But in this case, at the end of the day, they are just fear. So I want to break this down because once you see where you've been holding back, you can start to rewrite your patterns. And that's where you can actually begin to put your knowledge into practice on your personal growth. So the first thing I'm going to mention is procrastination. So I just need more time, right? And we all know that excuse, whether it's for the gym, to start a new thing, to start that new job, to start studying for that certain paper, to go and be honest with that one friend of yours that you've been holding back, to have that very honest conversation with your partner that you really need to have. Whatever it is, procrastination is one of the biggest ways this fear disguises itself. And I've been a big player in that as well. Because you tell yourself you're not ready yet. You convince yourself you need more time, more preparation, more experience, more this, more that. But deep down, you're just delaying the moment of when you actually have to show up. And what this looks like in real life is, for example, you have an idea for a business, a creative project, or simply a bold move that you want to make, right? But instead of acting on it, you spend months, sometimes years, in your research mode. And that was literally me with my business for the past years, right? This was literally me. Instead of just starting, I kept buying more courses and buying more classes and investing in more mentors and reading more books, watching more YouTube videos, buying more self-help books. Instead of just diving into the work, I thought I needed more intellectual knowledge, right? So I kept pushing back the actual action of starting my own business and kept investing and procrastinating on others' knowledge when I could have just embodied it right away. Or it looks like you tell yourself, I just need one more course, one more certification, one more sign from the universe. But every time you get close to launching, you find another reason to wait, right? This goes hand in hand with the first one for me, because I thought, who am I to start? I don't have certifications. I don't have this. I don't have that. So I thought I had to wait until I finished my bachelor's degree, until I had these specific certifications, until I had done this specific course, because then I'm really confident, right? It can also look like you have a vision for your future self, but you keep putting off the actions that would actually get you there. So that can be in every single context, right? In every type of context you put it in. And the truth is, the longer you wait for the perfect time, the further you push your dreams away, because there is no perfect time, because perfection doesn't exist. You don't become ready first. You become ready through action. And I can tell you that from experience now, because now I cannot even remember why I was so scared and stalling in the first place to start, right? Now I'm like, I love doing this job. I love teaching people. I love just putting my knowledge out there because I know it's going to help people, right? And the longer you stall, the longer you keep yourself small. And I notice the more I put myself out there, the more I'm expanded, the more I'm becoming confident, the more I'm becoming more myself, right? The next thing, while we're speaking on it, is going to be perfectionism. So I will start when it's perfect, that kind of narrative. So you convince yourself that if you just make everything perfect, your appearance, your work, your message, then it will feel safer to put yourself out there. But perfectionism is not a standard, it's a defense mechanism, right? Excellence is a standard, perfectionism is not. And it's simply a way of controlling how people will perceive you so you can avoid criticism, judgment, or rejection. So it's just you hiding again, right? Now, what does this look like in real life? Maybe you have an idea for a post or a video or a message that you want to share. If we take social media for an example, right? But instead of just putting it out there, you rewrite it 20 times, right? You redo it 20 times. You overanalyze every word, making sure it sounds right. And the more you watch it, though, the more you watch yourself speak, the more you hate hearing yourself. And then you end up not doing anything, because if it's not perfect, it's not worth posting it and taking action in the first place, right? I've been there as well. You want to start a business, a podcast, or maybe just overall, for whatever reason, a personal brand, but you tell yourself, I need the perfect branding, the perfect setup, the perfect website, all the things. By that time, months have passed and you're still stuck in preparation mode, right? Or it looks like you spend more time editing, perfecting, and tweaking things than actually releasing them into the world, right? And the truth here is, perfection doesn't protect you, it keeps you hidden. Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing as procrastination, it keeps stalling. You keep stalling, you keep pushing things back. And if you wait until something is perfect, you will never start. Because what you're really saying is, I will start when I can guarantee that no one will judge me. But here's the reality on that. People will always have opinions. You have to be willing to put yourself out there, even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect, even when you're still learning. Because waiting for perfection is just another form of hiding again. As I've said, it's the same thing with procrastination. You're stalling again. You're playing small. And on that note, the third thing I'm going to mention is playing small. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, right? That type of narrative. So you don't go for the big opportunities. You don't raise your hand. You don't speak up when you have something valuable to say. You keep yourself low key in the background, unseen. You're the unproblematic one, right? Why? Because visibility feels like a risk to you. You don't want to be too much. You don't want to outshine others. You don't want to attract attention you don't know how to handle. And what this looks like in real life could be, for example, you have these big dreams, big visions, big energy, but you stay in places that don't challenge you, don't grow you, don't match your potential. Whether that's staying in a job that you hate and you come home complaining about it every day, whether that's staying with the friends that are so toxic and you stay in that toxic friend group and you never speak up for yourself and leave that space, right? Whether that's you staying stuck in your little ass village hometown where you know you won't reach your dreams because you're too scared to move away, move abroad, move to a bigger city, wherever you are, right? Move outside of your comfort zone. You keep yourself small around the people that know you, around your family, around your friends, around your work colleagues, because you feel like they're going to judge your big energy, right? Overall, it's going to look like you let other people take credit for ideas you had because it feels uncomfortable to claim them for you. Because again, you're scared to be seen, so you rather others get the spotlight before you, right? Or it looks like you downplay your success by saying, oh, it was just luck. Because you don't want people to think you're arrogant. But in reality, owning up to something you did good, owning up to something you succeeded in, something you're really good at, that's not arrogance. You're just being solid in yourself and you're recognizing your wins, right? You're recognizing what a great person you are. You're recognizing your strengths, which should be a normal thing, right? But because people tend to get triggered by that, you keep yourself small. So instead of them changing their problem, you try to control the situation for them, even though it's not on you, right? Or it looks like you avoid celebrating yourself because you're afraid of how others will perceive it. Again, this could also, it's not always about success and wins. It could also be someone giving you a compliment and you say, oh, this whole thing, oh no, look at you, you are so blah, 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 right? You always deflect. And the truth, again, playing small doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't protect you, it just suffocates you. And why are you so drained? It's because of stuff and behavior and conditionings like these, because you are abandoning yourself. Because you are meant to do and be more than just likable. You are meant to be impactful. And impact, it requires you to take up space, but you are too scared to take it, right? Because you are always looking for others to validate you. And on that note, the fourth aspect I'm going to mention is seeking constant validation. So things like, do you think this is okay? What do you think? So instead of trusting yourself, you look to others for permission. Is this good enough? Do you think this is okay? Because if someone else approves first, maybe it won't feel so scary. And maybe you know it's the right decision, right? Because you're not the only one agreeing to it. And what this can look like in real life is you don't trust your own decisions. You need a second, third, or even a fourth opinion before you act on it. This can also even look like speaking up to a friend of yours. Instead of just doing it, you're going to seek approval and acceptance from a bunch of other people before you go and actually talk to that person, right? To see if you are right or wrong. Or it can look like you constantly ask for reassurance before making even small moves, because if someone else validates it, maybe it will feel safer, right? It can also look like you hold back your creative ideas, your bold moves, your next steps, because you are waiting for external confirmation that it's the right choice for you. But again, the truth here, no one else can give you the permission that you need. If you keep waiting for approval, you will always be waiting, because the only approval that you actually need is the one you give yourself. It's never external, it's always internal. And that's why you feel empty even after doing this a million times, because you always search externally for it. The fifth thing I'm going to mention is avoiding success. So, what if I actually make it, right? And that's a huge one, because a lot of people assume they fear failure when in reality they actually fear success. Because Success means more visibility, more responsibility, more exposure, right? And that shit terrifies you. And that was actually true for me. I was scared of being seen in the sense of what if I am successful? Because I know deep down I am going to be, but my scarcity didn't lie with failure, I was hiding behind the fear of failure. But my scarcity was actually lying with avoiding success, right? What this looks like in real life is, for example, you get an opportunity, but you subconsciously self-sabotage. Or you take one step forward and then immediately shrink back down, right? Because you don't know how to handle the next level. So you are excited at first, but then you kind of pull back your tail and you run back. Or you start gaining attention and suddenly feel uncomfortable, unworthy, or overwhelmed, right? So let's say, for example, I just started my business, I'm getting a few clients, and as soon as I see some people enter my world, I second guess myself, I'm overwhelmed, I feel like I'm unworthy, why are they in my world, why are they investing in me, blah, 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 blah. So I'm actually self-sabotaging right there, right? Because I get scared of my success. And the truth here is, the fear of success is really just a fear of change. Because what happens when you actually become the person you have been working toward? What happens when you no longer have excuses? What happens when you're actually seen, recognized, or celebrated? What happens when people start looking up to you? And what happens when people actually see who you really are, right? Because it will not just be your social media facade that you put up. It will be the human behind that facade that they are going to see. You will be exposed. And that's exactly why this fear is so deep, because deep down, you're not just afraid of failing, you are afraid of what happens when you finally stop hiding. So, again, here's the hard truth. While you are avoiding success because it feels overwhelming, while you are avoiding failure because it feels humiliating, while you are staying in this safe, neutral space where nothing happens, you are already failing. You think that by staying where you are protecting yourself, that you are avoiding risk, that you are keeping things stable. But the reality, honey, you are losing every single day that you don't step into your power. You are losing time, you are losing opportunities, and you are losing your confidence. And worst of all, you are losing yourself. And that's the complete opposite of what we do in my world, because in my world, we're becoming the most empowered selves, right? And in this case, right now, your patterns, your conditionings, your behaviors, with keeping those up, you are losing yourself. Because when you silence your voice, when you hide your talents, when you downplay your worth, you are actively betraying the version of you that was meant to exist, right? You are going against you. You think you are avoiding failure? No, you are choosing a slow, quiet failure every single day that you stay in the shadows. Because nothing grows there, nothing thrives there. And deep down, you also know this. Because why else do you feel the weight of knowing you were meant for more, but watching yourself settle for less? And why on earth why on earth else would you feel the pain of that? Of knowing you are your own biggest obstacle. That's far worse than any failure could ever be. But you just ignore that shame, right? Because failure moves forward. At least when you fail, you are learning, right? You are growing, you are building resilience. But staying stuck, that's just slowly erasing yourself, because you're going backwards basically. You're never really stuck, you're actually going in the other direction. And you were not put on this earth to erase yourself. You were put here to be expanded and to expand yourself. So the question here is, how much longer are you going to wait until you're going to start showing up for yourself and making yourself feel seen? Now, on another note, I want to be real about something. Women, especially, are conditioned to be agreeable, non-threatening, and accommodating, right? From the moment you are born, You are handed a script that tells you exactly how you're supposed to behave. Be polite, be soft-spoken, be likable, be anything but intimidating. And I speak a lot about that in my membership. And this isn't just about personal behavior. This is more so about control. Because a woman in her full power, she disrupts things. She challenges the norm. She demands to be heard. She refuses to be controlled. She doesn't beg for permission. She doesn't shrink herself to make others comfortable. She doesn't ask if she's allowed to take up space. She just does. And that terrifies people. And I'm not only talking about men, I'm also talking especially about women that become triggered in that case. So from an early age, you were trained to make yourself smaller. For example, you were rewarded for being sweet and nice. You were told to be humble instead of confident, right? You were labeled as difficult if you set boundaries, or complicated, or people made a fuss about it, right? You were judged for being too much if you took up too much space. Because why? Society thrives when women doubt themselves. It's that simple. When you doubt yourself, you stay quiet. You are unproblematic. When you stay quiet, you don't disrupt anything. You don't cause any problems. When you don't disrupt anything, things stay exactly as they are. You don't bother anyone, right? And that's why so many women feel unsafe stepping into full visibility, because we have been programmed to believe that our power is dangerous. Our power doesn't make us feel safe. And that is why when you step into these unknown territories, your brain, your subconscious immediately goes into danger, danger, danger. And this is too risky, in fight or flight mode, right? We have been conditioned that if we shine too brightly, we will push people away. That if we take up space, we will be seen as too much. That if we step fully into our greatness, we will be abandoned. And so without realizing it, you keep yourself small, right? You keep yourself in check. You hold back your power. You make sure you're acceptable. But while there's some truth to it that this actually happens, we do push people away, we will be seen as too much, and we will be abandoned. This is not on us, though. This is mostly going to be people who cannot hold our power because they cannot hold their own power, right? These are going to be mostly people, mostly women, who are insecure in themselves, who run away from themselves, who are afraid to be seen themselves. So they are triggered by your energy, by your power, by you taking up the space, right? But this is not on you. You cannot care about that, right? And this is not you dismissing their feelings. This is simply you not making yourself small to please others, right? So here's the truth. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to dilute yourself. You were never meant to blend in, right? You were never meant to make yourself invisible. And the longer you try to impress yourself, the more miserable you will feel. Because your soul knows who you are meant to be. And she is waiting for you to stop running from her. Because being seen means being exposed. And being exposed means being vulnerable. And vulnerable to judgment, it is vulnerable to failure and vulnerable to rejection. Because when you truly show up for yourself, no more filters, no more masks, you're taking a risk. You are saying, this is me, this is my truth, this is my power. And that means not everyone is going to like it. People are going to have opinions. People are going to talk. People are going to misunderstand you. And that feels terrifying, right? But you cannot care about that. Because one of the first things you need to change in this aspect is the part in you which gives power to other people's opinion. Because that part in you is still prioritizing external validation over your own truth. That part in you is still looking for approval, still seeking permission, still waiting for someone else to tell you that you're good enough. And as long as you keep giving power to other people's opinions, you will never be free. And you will actually not be good enough because you will always lack that self-worth, self-respect, and therefore your self-love that you are seeking so badly externally right now. Because here's the truth also in that. People's opinions are just reflections of their own limitations, not yours. And I am not going to sit here and tell you everybody will see your light, your vision, everybody will understand you, your power, and everybody will agree with you, because that's simply not true. Some people will misunderstand you because they don't have the capacity to see beyond their own conditioning. Some people will judge you because your boldness reminds them of where they are still playing small, right? Of where they are still being insecure, of where they are still not showing up for themselves. Some people will reject you because your authenticity makes them uncomfortable because they know how fake they are. They know how much they are putting on a show. They know how their superiority complex actually just masks their inferiority, right? But that is not your problem. Again, your job is not to make everyone comfortable. Your job is not to fit into their expectations. Your job is not to shrink yourself so that they don't have to confront their own fears. Your only job is to stand fully in your own truth, no matter who approves, no matter who claps, no matter who understands. Because at the end of the day, it's not their opinion that you have to live with, it's your own. You are the one always having your back. You are the one that's always going to be in your own corner, or that should be always in your own corner, right? So the real question here is, are you proud of the way that you are showing up in your own life right now? Because if the answer is no, or if you took too long to answer and then said yes, then it's time to stop living for them and start living for you. But here's also again the paradox I needed to mention in that. If you try to protect yourself from all that negativity and those uncomfortable situations, you also block yourself from everything good. You block yourself from success. You block yourself from aligned opportunities. You block yourself from the impact that you are meant to have. And I always use the metaphor of you building your own prison cell around you without even realizing it, right? You think you are protecting yourself, and that by keeping a distance, by staying guarded, by controlling how much of yourself you allow to be seen, you are keeping yourself safe. And in a way, you are, yes, but here's what you don't realize. You are not just building a wall around yourself, you are building a prison cell. And at first, it feels secure, all right? You think, if I keep my guard up, no one can hurt me. If I don't let people see too much of me, they can't reject me. If I don't take risks, I won't fail, and so on. And brick by brick, you keep stacking up this wall, right? But eventually, that wall isn't just keeping them out, it's keeping you in. And now, you're trapped. You cannot fully express yourself. You cannot take the chances that could actually change your life. You can't even see outside of your own limitations because all you know is the safety of your own self-built cage. But here's the worst part of it all. You don't even realize you're imprisoned because your focus is still external. You're so worried about who can see you, who is judging you, who might reject you, that you don't even notice where you are actually standing. And where are you standing? Inside the prison cell that you built with your own two hands. Because at the end of the day, it's not them who are stopping you. It's not the outside world keeping you from your power. It's not that wall, it's you. You are the one who built this prison cell. You're the one who locked the door of it. And you are the only one who has the key. The question is, are you finally ready to let yourself out? Because you need to see that you cannot be selective about visibility. You don't get to be seen only when it's convenient. You don't get to say, I want to be powerful, but I don't want anyone to have an opinion about it, okay? That's not how it works. You have to be willing to stand in your power even when it's uncomfortable. Because the alternative is living a life where you never truly express who you are. And if you never fully express yourself, then what was the point? So, when you finally stop hiding, when you finally take up space without apology, when you finally stop asking for permission to be great, everything shifts. Because the moment you allow yourself to be fully seen, you attract the right people in your life. You become a magnet for the opportunities meant for you. You stop fearing judgment because you fully accept yourself. And the best part is, you inspire others to do the same. Because when people see you own your power unapologetically, they start to believe that they can do it too. They start to realize that they don't have to shrink either, that they don't have to dim their light, that they don't have to hide their magic, that they don't have to keep making themselves smaller just to make others comfortable, right? Because the moment you stop hiding, you give others permission to do the same. And that's how you change lives. That's how you shift the entire energy of the world around you. But at the same time, if you keep hiding, you keep giving others the permission to do the same as well, to be fake as well, to be a pretender, a liar as well, to run away from themselves and those around them as well. So again, the question here is, are you willing to finally stop hiding? Because the world is waiting for you, and you were never meant to be invisible, right? And if you have been wanting to put in 100% effort into yourself, then the Coming Home to Yourself community is where it's really at. This is your space to dive deeper into everything we talk about here: healing, mindset, confidence, and embodiment, with exclusive content and unlimited resources, live sessions, and a supportive group of like-minded women who are all on their own journey of coming home to themselves. If you are ready to go all in on yourself and your growth, this is your chance to join my world. You can find all the details in the link I'll leave down below and on my Instagram, and I cannot wait to see you inside. And with that being said, I'm your host, Vanessa. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Coming Home to Yourself podcast. Bye!